Let's bring in our political panel, Simon Banks and Parnell McGuinness. Great to see you both. Simon, a day when the government's wanted to focus on the cost of living measures, the tax cuts and energy rebates and other things coming into force at the start of the financial year, but a real distraction with Senator Payman.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Kieran. I'm sure that from the Prime Minister down, they'd rather be talking about the tax cuts, the reductions in the cost of medicine, the energy rebates, the increase in the minimum wage, all of those things which Middle Australia, I guess, have been crying out for. I think the one silver lining on otherwise a very dark cloud for the Labor Party today is that, of course, most Australians, particularly those who, I guess, don't pay attention to politics in quite the same way, will be looking more at their bank accounts than what they see on their TV tonight.
Parnell, has the Prime Minister handled the issue around Senator Fatima Payman appropriately? It's a difficult one when a senator's going to break the party's rules in this fashion.
I think this is a really difficult one and very difficult to handle because it really exemplifies how Labor has increasingly its base has drifted towards this notion of intersectionality, which Fatima Payman really represents. You know, she's a young woman, a Muslim woman who is expressing those identities in this vote, and Labor is still the party is stuck in this idea of communalism at the same time as many of its supporters have become more enamoured of this idea of intersectionality. So it's a really difficult position for the Prime Minister because he's trying to make the point we need to stick together as a team under these rules that we have set. But at the same time, I think a lot of Labor supporters are going to be looking at this and saying this is what we understand diversity to mean.
Yeah, and a number of those senators who, you know, we've reported on, and I've reported on for many, many years, and you both have been observing the likes of Senator Wong, for example, who made the case internally on same-sex marriage. She hardly was going to oppose it at a personal level, but had to, vote an official level in the Parliament. You can see why a lot of those individuals would be quite annoyed now, Simon.
Yeah, no, look, I certainly understand the disappointment with the way that Senator Payman has acted here over the course of the last few days. But on the same token, I look at, for example, the relationship that exists between Josh Burns, an MP, a Labor MP of effectively Jewish extraction, and Fatima Payman. The fact that the two of them are talking together and are still trying to work through solutions to a problem like this to try and find common ground actually gives me some hope. Because ultimately, if we're going to solve problems in the Middle East, it's because people are actually going to have to sit down from diverse perspectives and find common ground. I think that's really what this debate needs, and I hope that conversation can now take place inside the caucus. They can come up with a common position that diversity is represented through, because ultimately I think that's what the Middle East needs as well.
Yeah, and fundamentally, you look at the argument from those in the Parliament with marginal seats, while they want peace in the world, they also recognise that that's not going to be achieved out of the Australian Senate, Parnell. So there's a frustration for a marginal seat holder wanting to focus on tax cuts and other cost of living relief at the start of the financial year.
That's right. I mean, it would come down to the simple fact for them that if you're not in power, you don't have any say in how peace in the Middle East is brokered from Australia's perspective. And so if you don't focus on the things that matter from day to day, like the cost of living, then you don't get a chance to be at the table for those bigger decisions.